This episode of the Henderson Football Show is brought to you by Raw and Jim of Henderson. In fact, every episode of the Henderson Football Show in 2023 is brought to you by Raw and Jim of Henderson. And Logan has been sponsoring now for the third year. This will be the the fourth year of Henderson Football, all because of Raw and Jim of Henderson and Logan Edmondson. And we do appreciate that. They're located at 2101 Highway 64 in Henderson. You can give them a call, 903-987-5858. You can find them online at rawandjimhenderson.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Raw and Jim of Henderson. And we've talked before about how at Raw and Jim of Henderson, it's not just about working out. It's a family atmosphere that they want to know your goals, and then they're going to help you try to get to those goals and strive for them. And when you achieve them, they're going to celebrate with you. Also, Logan knows it's not just about working out. As he says, nutrition is just as important as exercise when it comes to achieving your fitness goals. Proper nutrition is essential for achieving strength and muscle gains, and he backs that up because now at the gym you can buy prepackaged meals. They're healthy, they're easy, and also it's really easy to pay. You don't have to have cash. You walk in, you get the meal you want, and you cash app for it. So check out Raw and Jim of Henderson, again located at 2101 Highway 64 in Henderson. Two tough losses for the Lions, but the growth is there. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Raw and Jim of Henderson Football Show, right here on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. As Henderson falls for the second straight time, losing to Marshall 35-20 in a game that they jumped out 13-0. And did a lot of good things, but the turnover bug hit them. Marshall. I don't know where I got Washington from. Marshall's depth kind of, I think, took over, and then the game gets called. It was that weird week in Texas high school football. We seem to get one of these about every couple of years. Sometimes we get them back-to-back years, where there'll just be a week where the weather just really messes with the game. But the odd thing about this one this past week is usually we know it's happening, like we know it's going to come, but I don't think a lot of people thought Friday was going to be any different than the rest of the year, and then boom, we get hit with those weird storms that started across East Texas and made their way across to Central Texas. But anyway, Henderson has another tough one this week as they're continuing their 5A tour against 5A playoff teams, and this one in White House. And as always, we'll be talking to the head coach of the Lions about the two losses and about the matchup coming up against White House. And we'll do all that when we come back right here on the Raw and Jim of Henderson Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. Terry Bennett back here on the Henderson Football Show. Now joined by the head coach of the Lions, Coach Clay Baker. And Coach, last week, you lose a weird one in Marshall. The weather, it hit all of Northeast Texas. But I got to tell you, I was impressed. Y'all were in that game early and for most of it.
Yep. I was proud of the kids. I was proud of the way they played. One of the things we talked about from the week before was we need to clean it up offensively. We need to minimize penalties. We need to make sure we minimize missed assignments, knowing what we're supposed to do and those kind of things. And another thing we talked about was minimizing turnovers. Now, that one is what cost us, in my opinion. We didn't minimize the turnovers, but I thought we did a whole lot better with penalties and understanding assignments. I mean, we had barely any missed assignments up front. We only have one offensive penalty, so we really cleaned things up along those lines.
Yeah, you jumped out to a 13-0 lead, and as you said, it was the turnovers. And the positive and negative of that is you can show the kids, hey, when you're doing things right, we're up 13-0. When the turnovers happen, and that's where we got to clean it up.
100%. Yep, that's been our big message all week. We've tried to do some new things throughout practice to hopefully help eliminate those. I mean, that's been our issue for 3 weeks straight. I mean, even the week one when we got a win there, we had a lot of turnovers. Now we've minimized them each week. I think we went from 5 the first week and 4 the second game and 3 this past week. So we're trending in the right direction, but we've got to get to where we completely eliminate those turnovers. And that, I mean, That's 100% in my opinion what has cost us in the past 2 games. But we're definitely working on fixing that.
Well, and you and I were talking before we started recording. I mean, you look at your stat sheet, and it's all juniors, it's sophomores, it's juniors. We talked all off season and in the first couple episodes about the youth, and you were going to have those growing pains, but you can see where the positives are starting to show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, those guys they're going to get better every Friday, every week. You know, you can practice all week long and harp on this and harp on that, but you know, there's nothing like lining up out there on a Friday night. So I mean, they're gaining a lot of valuable experience and they're improving each week. And you know, some guys are in roles and positions that they hadn't necessarily been in the past, or they never played a Friday night. You know, so I think we'll clean those things up as we continue to get more live game experience.
Well, speaking of live game experience, you continue that 5A Division II run. As this week you're going to take on White House, a team that's 2-1. They have a lot back. When you look at the film, what are your thoughts on the Wildcats?
Yeah, I mean they're a very good team. They're coached well. They're disciplined. You know, they're explosive offensively. They're very explosive. They can score at any point, anywhere on the field. Run game, pass game. Their quarterback does a good job leading them. They do a lot of run pass options, and he's pretty smart back there, and he makes a lot of good decisions. You know, he kind of leads that offense and gets things going for them. So it's going to be another tough test. It's our third 5A opponent in a row that have all made the playoffs in 5A last year. So it'll be another test for us.
Well, and you know, and you and I talked about this. You didn't set the schedule, but I mean, this schedule is setting you up for a district that when you look at it, you talk about Kilgore and Chapel Hill and stuff. So what you're seeing now, you're going to see in 4A with those teams.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely not going to get any easier once we get past the 5A opponents. We open up right after that with Lindale, who is a very, very good 4A team who's made some runs here these past couple years. So they're definitely getting us ready for it. You know, and the big focus still for us with this last one is trying to focus on ourselves, make sure that we are playing our absolute best football going into next week when district starts.
All right. So you're 1-2. Personally, looking at your team, are you where you thought you would be? Or are you a little behind, a little ahead?
No, we're definitely not behind. You know, I'd say a little ahead. You know, I'm proud of the way the guys have showed up. You know, I thought there could be a little bit of time period there where it takes a little bit of time to get the guys to truly buy in. But credit to our players. I mean, they've bought in from day one, and they continued to trust the process. You know, the big thing for us, taking 2 losses these past 2 weeks and 2 pretty tough games is trying to make sure we keep the kids positive and understanding what the main goal is. And then here starting next week, it really doesn't matter if you went 4-0 or 0-4. Everybody in the state's going to start 0-0 with the same record. And the kids have bought into that process. They understand it. I mean, we've lost 2 weeks in a row in 2 tough games, and the kids showed up Monday, and we had one of our best practices we've had. So that's credit to our kids and the fact that they bought in.
Well, you bring up a good point. You know, it's not just about on the field. And it's not just about you know, having a good scheme and stuff. It's the players buying in. And though Henderson has a 15-year track record, this class hasn't had a lot of that success. So you're having to, like you say, reinforce them after these games.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we talked about that as a staff that, you know, we knew these past 2 weeks and this game, you know, we understand we're playing 3 5A playoff teams that they could go either way and sometimes maybe not in our favor, that we've got to make sure we keep our kids understanding what the main goal is and keep them positive and find things when we go back and watch film that we can correct to help us take steps forward regardless of the outcome in these games. You know, and the coaching staff, credit to them as well. Those guys have done a really good job of keeping all of them have kept their positions positive. They found things to correct while also finding good things to show them that they are doing correctly. So, you know, that we're going in the right direction right now. I think we're close. We're very, very close. I'm hoping with Friday night, we clean up a few things we need to clean up when we're playing our best ball here next week.
This episode of the Henderson Football Show is brought to you by Ra and Jim of Henderson. In fact, every episode of the Henderson Football Show in 2023 is brought to you by Ra and Jim of Henderson. And Logan has been sponsoring now for the 3rd year. This will be the 3rd year, or excuse me, the 4th year of Henderson football, all because of Ra and Jim of Henderson and Logan Edmondson. And we do appreciate that. They're located at 2101 Highway 64 in Henderson. You can give them a call, 903-987-5858. 8. You can find them online at rawandjimhenderson.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Raw and Jim of Henderson. And we've talked before about how at Raw and Jim of Henderson, it's not just about working out. It's a family atmosphere that they want to know your goals, and then they're going to help you try to get to those goals and strive for them. And when you achieve them, they're going to celebrate with you. Also, Logan knows it's not just about working out. As he says, nutrition is just as important as exercise when it comes to achieving your fitness goals. Proper nutrition is essential for achieving strength and muscle gains, and he backs that up because now at the gym, you can buy prepackaged meals. They're healthy, they're easy, and also it's really easy to pay. You don't have to have cash. You walk in, you get the meal you want, and you cash app for it. So check out Raw and Jim of Henderson, again, located at 2101 Highway 64 in Henderson. As always, we want to thank the head coach of the Lions, Coach Clay Baker, for joining us here on this Raw and Jim of Henderson Football Show. It's the tough part of the schedule. I mean, the whole schedule is tough this year, but I do think fruit will be born from this schedule. I don't know. I still feel that Henderson is a team that's going to fight for one of those two bottom playoff spots, that third or fourth spot. I think Lindell's a step down. I think Kilgore's maybe a step higher, better than I thought they were going to be. I think Chapel Hill's exactly where I thought they would be. But I think third and fourth, they're there. Athens is going to be interesting. See what they did against Rusk. It's going to be an interesting start to the district, which happens starting next week. Of course, Henderson's got White House this week. And it's, Coach didn't get a chance to set this schedule, and so it's a tough one. I would like to have seen this team play a schedule that's more to their ability and see where the confidence is. We all talk about, hey, play tough schedules. I think you play a schedule that fits your team. That's why the two-year schedule thing can be tough, because you can get a team that in year one is young, and so you want to – you want them to have confidence, and so you give them a schedule that in that year can be a little competitive, but then in year two they just dominate, and vice versa. You get that schedule in year one because you have a senior-laden team, and they're just going, they're going through a gauntlet because they need to be challenged like that. And then the next year you've got a bunch of sophomores and juniors, and they're playing teams that are just as good as they were the year before. So it would have been nice to see what Henderson could have done with a schedule of teams that they're more competitive are, but this is still a learning process. And they were competitive. I don't make it sound like they weren't. I mean, they lose by one possession to Hallsville. They lose by 15 to Marshall, but hey, it was competitive. It was 13-0 Henderson. The turnovers happened. And again, I do think Marshall would have started leaning on them, but still, both games have been competitive. So I don't want to make it sound like Henderson has not been competitive. I'm just making the point. Any questions, thoughts, or comments, you can email them to me, Terry at s2ssport.com. If I feel they fit the show, I'll ask the coach. You can find us on Facebook. Type in Sideline to Sideline, L4 Media Company. You can find us on Twitter at Grant and Terry at L4 Media Company. You can also find our YouTube channel at, you guessed it, L4 Media Company. All right. We'll talk White House next week and the district starting up soon right here on the Raw and Jim of Henderson Football Show on L4 Media.